Hey there, everyone. It is James Gardner with LeapZone Strategies and James Gardner with Margarita Romano of LeapZone Strategies. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
And thank you for all of you joining another episode of Reconnect Inward, Conversations in Courage. And today, Margarita and I are going to talk about a very simple word, not really, simple four-letter word. It doesn't start with an F. But a very powerful word, and that is love. L-O-V-E. In all its glory, and all its multi-facets and multi-colors and sensory and everything. It's such a word that means so much to so many people and so many different things to so many people as well. So Margarita, this is your arena. You know me, the warrior. I talk arena speak a lot, and this is your arena. So let's just crack a can open of love and break it down.
All right.
All right. So what do you got for me? What is love? What is love? Why is it so needed in this time more than ever?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Well, you know, it makes my heart sing that, it's unfortunate that it takes a time like this to happen. And it makes my heart sing that this time is asking us to really bring the love out, right? On many levels. So for me, love is who we are. It is a state of being. We are all love. It is actually what connects us as a whole. And love is felt, or we be in love in the body, because our mind plays tricks, right? And our mind loves fear, loves to protect us. It likes to discount the things that we feel and say, hey, actually, no, don't do that, right? Whereas your heart's saying, yeah, actually, this is what I need to do, right? So, and I'm a true believer in following what your gut, what your heart is telling you and how it's leading you to be. And so right now, I feel like love it's being asked, everyone is being asked to tap into it and to reconnect to it, with this age of technology, with this age of, it's funny because this pandemic required us to lessen connection physically, yet I feel like as a planet, we've never been more connected.
100%.
Energetically, right? Yep. Where people are actually concerned for others, whether they know them or not. Like, isn't that a concept?
Yeah, right.
Right? It was, instead of walking down the street with your face in your phone, I see people on Facebook groups. I'm in a Facebook group in my community. And today I saw a string of, I've been noticing this woman hanging out every night in the ballpark and she's using the outhouse. And before it would have been like, let's call the cops and get this woman out of there. And today it was, has anybody checked in with her? Is she living out of her car? Is she doing okay? What a difference.
Yeah.
What a difference. Like, maybe this person actually needs help. And that is being in a state of love. It's coming from a place of compassion, a place where it's not all about it. It's not about greed. It's not about guilt. It's not about worry. It's just a pure place of connection, compassion, empathy, where people are here to help each other in any way they can. Because we're all on a journey. We're all moving towards what we believe we're here to do.
Yeah.
And helping each other on that journey just makes it even more valuable.
And I find that the challenge to help people on that journey, if you will, is to get them from here to here. And so how can we share some insight or some light, if you will, on how do we go from leading with the head, leading with the intellect always, as opposed to leading with love first and leading from the heart? Because this is what we are very fortunate enough to do as a business,
Correct.
right?
It's a big
And
focus.
yeah, it sure is. And so let's break that down a little bit.
Okay. So, well, I'll use the example of how I
Sure.
get people to do that. So, as some of you may know, I work with horses. I partner with horses to um, coach people. Basically, I coach them in the presence of horses. And why I do that is because horses are prey animals, and they are constantly reading the energy in their environment to know if they're in danger. And so, in order for them to read the energy in their environment, they're reading what's going on in the body.
Mm,
Whether you're an animal or a person, anything that's living, they're reading the energy of the body. And am I in danger? If I am, I'm going to run. If I'm not, I'm going to stay. Right? So when I bring somebody into their space, they're scanners. They're scanning us to say, okay, what's going on for you? And the beautiful thing about them is they act like mirrors. So they will reflect the energy that they're feeling. So that gives me information. My job is basically to be a translator between the horse's behavior and the person, and coach that person based on what I'm seeing in the horse's behavior. So if I asked you, Jim, hey, Jim, how are you doing? And you said, I'm great. And two of my horses pick a fight. I'll be like, wait, maybe your mind thinks you're great, but my
you're a
horses,
liar. You're a
you're a
liar.
liar. You got some stuff going on. So that's just an example to get you to understand.
Yeah.
So that being said, how my work with the horses helps people get out of their head and into their heart or into their body is, one, I need them to get into their body, because the horses don't care what's up here. They're not reading what's up here. They're reading what's down here. And so the quickest way to do that is to actually feel your body. So feel your feet on the ground. Just even a few deep breaths bring you into the present moment. It's about returning to the present moment. As soon as you're thinking about the past or the future, you're thinking. So you're in your head, right?
Correct.
As soon as you're present, and when I mean present, I don't mean present like I'm thinking about Wednesday. No, I'm thinking about right now, I'm in my chair at my desk talking to Jim and having fun. So it really is about being present. For me, equates to being in the body.
Mm,
And then and some people are so far in their head that we literally have to get them focusing on specific things in the body to really get them into the body and out of their head.
so what I'm picking up is that we talk about this a lot in self-growth is being present, being here now.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the doorway to accessing more love in? In other words, to be acceptance, to have acceptance of love or to operate from that, one first needs to be able to kind of have some stillness and go from here to here,
Yes.
right?
When you are present is when you actually become aware that you are love, that's all there is.
Yes.
And that's what brings the peace, because it's about bringing your focus to just what is, not what will be and not what was, but what is.
Mm,
And in a time like now, that's never been more important, because we don't know. Every day that unfolds right now is drastically different, and we don't know where we're going.
right.
Borders are closed and things, like everybody knows what's going on. So it really is, the only thing we can focus on is right now.
Mm,
The past isn't really helping us at this point.
nope.
No.
Nope. And the anxiety is about things yet to come, things that are out of our control, things that are in the future. That's what we're worrying about. So the safest place and the most empowering place is to be present.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, that, for some, that's easier said than done.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. If it was easy, we wouldn't have gotten to where we did with being so programmed and so disconnected.
Yeah, and you had talked about just getting grounded, and what does that mean, and someone who I had on the show, you know, Dory Howard, who's a colleague of ours,
Mm-hmm.
she talks about conscious breathing. It's just
Yeah.
conscious breathing. I mean, you can strip it all away, you know, because a lot of people get a little bit kind of intimidated by what mindfulness or what being present means and all this stuff. And it doesn't have to be robes and chants and
No.
kumbayas and all that. It's just can be simply just breath, just the
Mm-hmm.
power of breath, right?
Or it's about bringing your awareness to the now. So if you're having lunch,
Mm,
actually taste what you're eating. Feel yourself chewing it, swallowing it, like go through the motions with your body. We do a lot for granted. That's why breathing is such a focus, because it's something we do without thinking about it. So to bring your attention to it, you become present. Same with other things like eating, or the things that we do, like scarily, some people can drive without realizing it. Like, how many
I
times,
know.
right? How many times, like, how did I get here?
How
Like,
did I
how did
told?
you,
I've
right?
been there. I know. It's kind of freaky,
It's scary.
right? But yeah, and it's amazing though. Like you talk about eating, and that's just that's a simple example of adding more flavor to
Yeah.
your life. I mean, you forget some of these small things, and those small little units of being now, being present, they add color and texture to your life. And if you can do that on a multiple level with different moments here, here, and here, honestly, it's as if you've just walked into a new space.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing things differently, you're feeling things, your senses are on overload. And yet, while you're doing that, there's a sense of peace and calm with which you go about your day to day.
Which changes your journey moving forward. So yeah, going from coming from a place of being in the head, fear, worry, anxiety, you were saying, that has you take certain actions moving forward. Becoming present, realizing that there is only now, that your experience is happening right now, and you need to choose to tune into it. Otherwise, you miss it. Right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what driving and not remembering how you got there is. You're actually missing that experience. So, but having that awareness and being present to those things, to breathing, to eating, to driving, is what also alters how you take action moving forward, and what allows you to come from a more heart-centered, heart-based place.
Exactly. Right. So that's a beautiful segue because we always talk, you and I always talk about showing up,
Yeah.
right? Showing up and holding space. And you could argue that step one of that is what we just talked about. And when you're present and when you're kind of in that state, you move forward with when you're leading with that way from a heart-based approach, you are showing up and you're holding space for whatever comes in that space,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're being aware, you're being cognizant of all this, and you're doing it not from a place of ego. You know, the ego gets diminished a little bit. That voice kind of recedes a little bit when you fully step out that way. At least that's what I see, right?
Yeah, I think showing up is also what we're being asked right now to do.
Yeah.
And especially anybody that has any sense or desire or drive or purpose towards being of service in some way, and that could look different for many
Yeah.
people.
Right.
But that's kind of what's pushing us right now in the back. Like, hey, you're here for this, so now's your time to step forward and be that. And I know for me, that's what I'm feeling is, and I've been on this journey out for like the last 10 years of really stepping into why I'm here. And the connection, the more present I become, the more heart-based I become, the more aware I am of why I'm here, right? And the more drive or connection is created in me showing up in that purpose. And why? Because showing up right now in that purpose is to help in a broad global scale heal humanity, evolve humanity, right? So that to me right now is what's really pushing me pushing me up, I guess, or forward.
Yeah, forward.
Is that I'm really feeling called to help people right now. And like Isabel and I are giving everything we have every single day, as are you, right? We're all showing up to be the best that we can be every day and basically hold the intention that we're hopefully helping others move forward on their journeys.
Mhm.
Now, what that takes is a whole other conversation, right? So
Right.
what that takes, what does it take for you to show up?
It takes me to be present, first off, uh, to quiet myself and then set the intention of what my contribution is. And so I've stepped into my purpose, or what is my contribution, and that is to be doing things like this. That is to be stepping out there and showing up for my clients, showing up for my community of people who aren't my clients, who look to me for a variety of reasons, for insight, for inspiration, for laughter, right?
Yeah, it's
Whatever, right,
important.
right, whatever it is, that's what I'm called to do, to show up each and every day, and truthfully, to show up real. And by
Mhm.
that I mean, it ain't fucking sunshine and rainbows every day. We don't just because we we're in the we're in the business of helping people and steering people towards a certain way, doesn't mean that we don't have our self work to maintain, to work on, and to course correct, right? I'm always course correcting things that work for me and don't work for me, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head here about authenticity, right?
Mm.
It's about showing up authentically. Like a phrase that we use often at LeapZone is permission to be you granted, right? Permission to be you means you in any state,
In any state, yeah.
because you're going to connect with someone that's having a similar state at a similar time. A lot of my Facebook lives that I do with the horses down, like from the paddock, is really about sharing my moment, the moment that I'm in. And sometimes it is rainbows and unicorns, and sometimes it's not. And regardless of which way I go, there are always people like, that's what I needed to hear today. That's what. So, and that's, I have goosebumps. Like, that's the point. Your shirt says it, like you're right now. Space, peace, connection. The connection is the point. And showing up is about allowing people to connect, like authentically connect.
Yeah. And I feel that's some of the conscious shift that's happening, as you talked about earlier when we opened this call, and I said this in one of my shows earlier. We are separated but more connected than ever. I
Yeah.
do believe that. And where was I going with that? I don't remember. Fuck. What was your
I
last
said
word?
connection. Connect. Showing up is about.
Oh yeah, and the shift. Yeah, so the conscious thing is that in this connectivity, people are realizing it's the glue. The glue of that is authenticity. People are people are waking up to the smoke and mirror bullshit out there. They're waking up to the false promises and the ego driven advertisements and do this and wear this and feel this way and do this. And people are starting to get more savvy, and people just want real. They want real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what if you want real, then you need to be connect to yourself and you need to be present, because that is the ultimate definition of realism. What is happening in this very moment?
Yep, totally. And it's let me find my thought, because it was, you said real, relatable. It's about being like, this authenticity is about relating too, right?
Mm,
And that's what creates a bigger connection with people. When people feel seen, heard, understood, like, that is one of the biggest gifts. To be
mm,
seen and to be
mm.
acknowledged, I think, is such a gift. And when you're focused on being more present, on tuning in to the fact that we are love, that it is always there, we just need to bring our attention to it. And it's an inward thing, it's not an outward thing. Don't look for it over there, look for it here.
Right.
It really is. It's like, you don't have to go far, you're it.
Yeah.
So and that's probably the biggest teaching I have with love in general, is that, it's not something you need to go find. It's not on a website. It's like, it's in you. So yeah, relatability and being seen. And I think the more you can witness people, the more they have an opportunity to flourish. They have an opportunity, and that's an opportunity to flourish at any level, whether it's opening up to stuff they need to work on themselves, opening up to what their own purpose is and why they're here and what can they do about it. But it starts by somebody listening. Listening is big, right? And,
Yeah.
and listening is a big part of being seen, I think.
I that was the word that I was going to chime in with is listening.
Yeah.
And this, it's such a powerful word, and it is the action that you can do to enable somebody to be seen and heard. And ultimately, like, it, you're empowering them by doing so. As you said, like, their blossom, or them to flourish, I think is what you said.
Yes, I did.
Uh, that is that is super powerful. So people are going through tough times right now, right? We have people that are locked down with friends and family members that maybe they don't want to be locked down with. They're realizing, right? We on our kind of our pre-talk today, we were talking about kids and what's going on in their minds. And again, think conversation is key. Conversation is key to create the ability to listen so that someone can flourish.
Yes.
And what, right? And whatever flourish that means.
And
Yeah.
being seen. It goes back to
Yeah.
be when somebody feels forgotten or not seen, it's easy for them to think they need to disappear.
Mm.
So keeping that, never assume. That's where I was going to go, is assumptions are. I remember when I was in high school, my chemistry teacher said, never assume, because you make an ass out of you and me, which spells assume, right?
Assume.
And it always stuck with me, because I was like, right, like assumptions,
Yeah.
that's all they are. They're not worth anything.
Nope, they're not. They're not.
That's
Nope.
not necessarily the truth, and you don't know the truth until you connect and you relate and you listen.
And for those conversations, listening and having those conversations that may be somewhat challenging, or maybe things that you may not want to hear, or whatever. Again, coming from a place of love, it's a much better way to have it be palatable,
Mm-hmm.
and to understand, and to be objective about whatever's being discussed, right? And I think it is because you're coming from a place of grace, as opposed to up here thinking 3 thoughts ahead, and what does that mean? What, they think I'm doing this, or they think that, nah, and then the ego starts,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. And it's what did you say? You said, oh, come on. Wow, this is good. It'll come back.
Hmm.
But there was a piece in there you were talking about. What did you just say? Maybe it'll trigger it.
I said Margarita is awesome. That's what I said.
Oh,
I was
wait.
talking conversation, listening,
Yep.
coming from a place of love allows you to disassociate with the material being said. So be objective, so the ego
Yeah.
doesn't get involved.
Yes. So, and it was about being objective. When you come from a state of love, you're not making assumptions. You're being objective. That's what I was going to say. Nobody's perfect. And
Mm.
if you come from that standpoint of nobody is perfect, then every conversation is equal. There's no, because in my experience and in my connections and what I've seen through the work that I do, it's a lot of people don't bring things up because they fear looking stupid.
Mm.
They judge themselves before actually having the conversations. And if we can all come from a place of where we realize that we're not perfect and we're not here to be perfect, then it removes a lot of that judgment because we're human.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it was written that humans should be perfect.
I don't know.
But
Hmm.
it was, and I'm talking as an ex-perfectionist. Like when I wrote the first draft of my book on love, um, I was in Bali and I was writing this draft, and one of the trips like that we had, because it was a retreat, we went to this water temple, this holy water temple, and we had to get into the water, and there was like, I think 10 fountains, and you had to release something at every fountain that you no longer needed, that you were willing to finally move on from. And the first one had to be like this. They made you boil it down to one word of what you were going to release, and then it would go on to like mostly relationships and people and things. But the first one, I remember standing there and my word was perfection. And I was like, that's it. Like, I'm about to write a first draft of a book. I cannot have perfection in my back pocket
Mm.
anymore. And it was what I released it in that holy water
Interesting.
temple.
And was it a full release, or does it still plague you a little bit?
Well, I had some, it's been a journey, but I think had I not consciously done that, my journey, I mean, the book took 4 years regardless, but it wasn't because of perfectionism. It was also, the book was my journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I really feel like it helped me view, because really perfectionism is how you view things being done, right, to a certain standard, to a certain level, and it really helped me see or redefine what good looks like. And it's weird because that being a perfectionist and thinking that you're always wanting to do things perfect. First of all, I was the one judging what was perfect.
Right.
What does that mean? Like, as long as I thought it was perfect, then it would go out there and I was good with it because I felt it was perfect, but you could have thought it was crap, right? So it's really weird. Like, perfectionism is weird. So yeah, so it allowed me to reframe all of that.
And you said something really interesting. It reframed your definition or viewpoint of what good means.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, because I did a lot of good that I didn't see as good
Mm.
because it wasn't perfect. And
Interesting.
so it allowed me to reframe what good is and to see and acknowledge in myself how I actually showed up good in a variety of ways that I would discount before.
Yeah. That's a great, I love that. I'm going to think about that. Because we see that a lot, especially with my clients. I see, perfection paralyzes,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's win ugly. Sometimes it's or it is about the good, what is good, and reframing that. So that actually gave me some really valuable context there.
Well, if I hadn't let it go, I could still be editing that book instead of
Yeah.
it being out for over a year now, right? So it's and most importantly is it's really the relationship. What I like about having consciously let go of perfection is that it changed my relationship with myself, and it had me appreciate myself more for, like, as a whole picture as opposed to what I can produce.
Mm.
Like, I never used to give myself credit for how I can hold space. And now, today, I know that how I hold space is one of the best things I do. But before, no, like that was not even on the radar.
I want to, since we're kind of going back and when you were in Bali, and I'd like to go back even before that. You had said earlier that your heart-based movement started maybe 10 years ago, I think you had said.
Yep.
What what was the catalyst for that? What kind of made that transition for you, to the path that you're on now?
Unhappiness was the catalyst. Isabel and I had started LeapZone. Uh, we started it in 2007. So I'd been working with Isabel in LeapZone for 3 years at that point, and I was actually more involved in how you're involved, right? I would coach with Isabel. We'd do strategy sessions together. Like, I'd do all of that stuff. And did I like it? Yes. Was I truly connected with that stuff? No. So, at the beginning it was exciting because it was new and we were having fun together because we'd never worked together in that way. Like in that particular way. We worked together for a long time. After 3 years, I was like, this is not why I'm here. This is
Mm.
not why I'm here. And at the same time thinking, this is bigger than me. Like, this is about my business with my partner in business and in life. So I can't just be like, sorry, that's just not working for me anymore, or can I? Right? So and then the other issue was, well, if I don't want to do this, what do I want to do?
What do I do? Yeah.
I don't know, right? But it all started with me grounding myself, being present, and having the tough conversation. And it took my coach. So Isabel and I have always been coached together, and that is something, it's a non-negotiable for us. And our coach at the time had called me on it in one of our sessions, and she's like, what's going on? Like,
Mm.
and I just felt like, okay, it's going down right now. And I guess if it's going to go down, I'd rather have a coach present, right? So I just shared my unhappiness. This was really not doing it for me. Like, I felt like I had not that what we were doing wasn't enough and wasn't a lot, but that I guess the way it was being done, or I guess the way it was being done, I felt like I had a deeper, it was not, because our business is about business, which it still is today, and it's awesome. And I felt that I had something to contribute beyond the business. And so, but I didn't, today it's very clear to me, but then I was like, what does
Yeah.
that mean? What does that mean, right? So we had the conversation, and, Isabel was a true angel and heard me out. And as partners as we are, she got on board with, like, okay, well, what do we need to do here? What does this look like? And so my first step was to actually do, have you ever heard of the book, The Artist's Way?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
somebody had given me that book several years before, and they had just said, well, oh, I think you would really enjoy this book. And I got it. I was like, awesome, thank you, looks amazing. And I put it on my bookshelf. It sat there for a few years. And then when I reached this point, and I was like, well, great. So I've had the conversation. We're arranging the business that I can actually pull out a bit to have time to figure out what I want to do. But what do I do now? And then that book kind of jumped out on the shelf. And it's a book that it really reconnects you to your creativity, to the creative side, to your purpose. And so, and one of the pieces that it starts you off with is that you have to journal 3 pages every day for 3 months. And so that's what I did. And my 3 months happened to coincide with the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. So rain or shine, and I lived in Yaletown. The parties were right outside my door, but every day I was in my condo writing my 3 pages. I was really dedicated to them. And it's where I reconnected and how I reconnected to writing. Because up until that point, I was a writer in our businesses, but for corporate, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, like, it was so long ago, it was like, it wasn't websites, it was brochures, you know? And so I was ghostwriting for other business experts. And so it was always business related, but I realized that I actually had something to say for myself, right? Not for others.
Yeah.
And I had reconnected to this message that it was around unconditional love. So writing, unconditional love, and then the other piece was horses. So all of this was getting clearer and clearer as I went through that. And then of course I'm still getting coached. And that's how, through following that passion and that kind of line of discovery, is how it led me to doing this retreat in Bali and writing the first draft of that book.
Yeah.
It's how it led me. And of course, as you get clearer on things, things show up, right? So my first step was going to Bali, writing the first draft of the book. How my retreat ended for that was they brought us at 5 a.m. in the morning. They brought us to a top of a volcano, and we formed a circle, and they were, the leader of this retreat was saying, I want you to share how this has changed you and what it's going to make you do differently when you go home. And up until, like, and this was a retreat, it was like a 30-day retreat. I'd been there for a while. So, and that whole time, because I went there to write a book, I did not expect all the personal development, but of course there was a ton, and I was crying every day. I cried every day writing that book. It was nuts. And so I had not, and there were always, like, every day there were kind of like workshops that we'd attend, and there'd always be people that he'd pull from the group and work with them in front of everybody. And not once did I volunteer. I'd sit on the ground on my cushion and I'd bawl, listening and watching and doing all that. And on this last day, as he's telling us, like, so step into the middle of the circle and declare. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I should really step into the circle. Don't know what I'm going to say, but I should really. And as this little story is going on in my mind, this woman that I'd become really good friends with was standing next to me, and she shoved me.
Oh.
She shoved me in the middle of the circle as the first person. So at the top of this volcano, I'm standing in the middle. I'm like, don't know what I'm going to say. And suddenly I was like, just trust. And what came out of my mouth was this. I want to build a retreat center where Isabel gets to help business owners with their business and their brand. And then I get to take them outside and work with them with horses to get them out of their heads and into their hearts and back to why they got into business in the first place. That's where it came out. And of course, I came back from Bali. What happened? Oh, suddenly, I don't even know what I mean by working with horses at this point. I'd never experienced what I do today. I had never experienced it, never heard of it. But I came home, continued working on my book, and then suddenly, hey, have you met so-and-so? And hey, have you checked this out? And go see. And suddenly there's this woman in Delta that I should check out, and boom, 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 it unfolded, and I did a certification, and now boom, and we're here on the island.
And yeah, and for anybody that out there that may not know exactly what LeapZone does, that we do exactly what she said we do all those years ago. So that's pretty amazing. And that's great, because I know that there's people that are unhappy. You said you were unhappy. That was your sticking point. And so not everybody's going to turn around and go start a business. That's not what this conversation's about, but it's about, there's people out there that are unhappy. And so what can they do to to um, to start that process of coming out of that? And you had said you had the hard conversation first, whether it was with Isabel or with yourself. You had
Correct.
the hard conversation, right?
It's really your, for lack of a better term, your come to Jesus moment, right?
Yeah.
You're facing your truth is what it
Right.
is. And my situation was that I had and have a partner in life and business, right? That I
Right.
was moving through this with, but it's, you can face a moment of truth on your own or with a friend
Or
or
with
with,
a friend or partner,
yeah,
whatever that truth may be.
correct.
Could be anything. So,
And I actually feel like this time right now is, it's like it's bringing that to the surface for anybody who has any of that in them.
yes.
Like that unhappiness in I'm seeing it in marriages. I'm seeing it in careers, in like jobs, in businesses, in friendships, in like different relationships, parents, like it's coming up in all areas. If there is an unhappiness or a dissatisfaction that is big enough that something needs to be done about it, people are being asked to do something about it right now. And to loop it into love, the love piece here is about honoring yourself and allowing yourself to go there.
Mm.
That is love, right? Being in that state of love is allowing your truth to be spoken, to be heard, allowing yourself to show up in it. Like it is what we're talking about.
So facing the truth and the love is necessary to allow yourself to show up and embrace that truth. Something along those lines.
The love, returning to love. So um, remembering that we are love, that if we can bring ourselves out of here into here, feel ourselves where we are right now, we are love, and love allows us to speak our truth
Mm,
because we feel we're not in fear in that moment, right?
that's
Fear
right.
is up here. So
That's
when
right.
we're here and we want to speak that truth, it's going to be, and it is probably the most beautiful vulnerability there is, right? To speak your truth from that raw place and allow yourself to speak it and then
Yeah,
be heard and seen in that.
it's
Love that.
beautiful. Love that. Gives you
Love
goosebumps. I know. That's what
that.
we
That's precisely what um,
and
it's precisely what drives the space that I've created here, right? It's, I want people to feel like they can show up in that because it's so important.
and that I think that's truly what it means to be alive,
Yeah,
right? Living
yeah.
in the moment. Wow. So, okay, tying this up in a neat bow if possible.
Yes, I was trying to bring it.
No, no. Well, it did come full circle. Actually,
Okay.
it came full circle brilliantly. And since you are the Dalai Lama of love,
Well,
no, but uh, what are some love hacks? Like what can people do? I mean, I know you touched on a little bit of a process, if you will, but
mm,
what what are just some things people can embrace, people can do right now to take a step forward in that direction?
well, I have a few ideas. One of them is, I would say, something everybody can do right now is, in any decision that they're making, listen to your heart. And
Mm,
what I mean by that is, let's say you've made a decision and it's a no, and you say no, but you have that, or oh, like, it just, I experience it as a feeling. That's why I make that, people might experience it differently, but most of the time it's a twinge of some kind. You feel like that's not entirely the right answer, but it's the one that's smart and it makes sense, and my head feels good about it. But if this is like going, I don't know, and it'll do that. I have to give an example just to make this clear. Like, often I'll see that in um, relationships of any kind. So if people think it's going to be negatively perceived in society, they will make their decision from the head to appease society, even though their heart is like, yeah, but this person, he's a good guy. Like, really, he deserves a chance. Like, why am I going to alienate him for that, which is maybe going to be perceived badly, but really, I know that it's actually bigger than that. Well, go with that. Give this person a chance. Like, if the person is truly bad, trust that you also will know that. I'm not saying everybody's good. They're not. However, we know from here when someone is good and someone is not. And so to make our decisions from here allows the opportunities for people that have maybe made a bad decision, or for whatever reason, they get the opportunity to still be seen and heard and have a chance to grow from there, as opposed to be alienated. Like, this is just an example, but it's one that I see quite often.
Yeah. There's that trust word again.
Yeah.
Trust,
Trust is big. Trust is, the horses, they reminded me of it this morning, actually. Like, it's a daily thing. Trust and patience right now, huge.
Interesting.
And
trust and patience. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and then the other thing I was going to say is what I could do too, because it popped in earlier, was if you're wanting, we could add a link under this video too, because I have a workbook that goes with my book. And it's basically, and it doesn't matter if they've read the book or not, but it's journal prompts. So, and it's that will get people actually to start this journey and really start thinking of, like
kind of like the artist's way, in a sense, what it worked, how it worked for you. Yeah.
Kind of that way, but a little more specific on what it asks them to ponder and consider. And now is a great time actually to go through stuff like that as you're, not as social and have more time at home or whatever it may be.
I love that. Let's do that. Let's include that. Because a lot of times we talked about perfection paralyzes, but also just lack of clarity of what that very first step is. And something as simple, perhaps, of some journal prompts may be a catalyst for people to move forward.
And even if they don't write or journal, it's still, they'll read the questions and it just has you start and it's something that as you're, in your garden or whatever, you're gonna be like, oh, like, that stuff that just has you keep thinking, right?
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, look, it's been just about an hour, so
I can't believe it.
I know, right? Quick time. Well, maybe we'll do a version 2.
Yeah.
As always, thanks for the conversation and conversation of the heart, as always, which is how you and I roll. So I always appreciate that. I always love spending time with you.
Yeah. Yes, likewise.
And thank you for your journey, your sharing, your vulnerability, your honesty, your truth, your love, and wisdom today. And for all of you that are at home, at work, wherever you are, this is your time. This is our time collectively, and this is each of our times to step in, to honor the truth that each of us has, to find a place of love with which to proceed and hold space for ourselves and for others, and then to step in and lead with love, and you will be better for it. Your community will be better for it. Your family, your loved ones, the world, all of us together. So, Mags, thank you for your time, and for all of you out there, thank you for showing up today and watching us. And mad love to the courageous. And we'll see you again. All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye.